Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Sierra and I'm the owner of Sierra Stitches, which is my very own crochet small business. In today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to make these adorable crochet roses. This is my most popular pattern and I use it all the time in bouquets that look like these. I'll put up some pictures here. And in today's video, you're going to learn, even if you're a complete beginner, how to make something like this. Let's get started. First, let's go over what materials you're going to need to crochet your own rose. You're going to need a 4.0 millimeter thick crochet hook, a darning needle for sewing, a pair of scissors, 22 gauge flexible floral wire, a hot glue gun and also hot glue sticks, 2 millimeter thick flexible floral wire, and if you can't find any floral wire or if you don't have any access to them, you can also use these wooden skewers. These are just everyday normal barbecue skewers that you get from the grocery store. You're going to need your yarn color of choice for your actual rose petals, and you're also going to need green yarn for your leaves and stems. And if you're a complete beginner and you're not familiar with how yarns work, you want to look at the label on the back. So you can see here, this will say medium number 4, as you can see right here. So you're gonna want to look for a number 4 weight yarn. That refers to the thickness of the yarn. So it goes from, I believe, 0 or 1 all the way to 7. So number 4 is going to be this thick of a yarn, and you want to make sure that you choose a number 4 yarn, or else your yarn probably won't work with my tutorial. And the last optional item you're going to need is a lighter, just so you can use the flame to burn off any of the extra yarn fuzzies from your work to make your roses look super clean. Another thing to note is that most crochet patterns are written with abbreviations, so I'll put a slide up in a few seconds to show you what the abbreviations are in my pattern and then what they all mean. If you're a complete beginner and if you're not familiar with the abbreviations, be sure to refer to the abbreviations list that I'm going to put up in a few seconds, just so you know what the abbreviations mean and so you can keep track of what stitches we're going to be using for my pattern. Before we actually start to crochet, one of the most important things to learn as a beginner is how to properly hold your yarn. It definitely will make a huge difference if you're crocheting a lot when you have a lot of hand pain. One of the things to think about is maybe changing the way that you hold your yarn. So I'm going to show you guys how I hold my yarn. This is a very individual thing, so this is just my personal preference, but try it out and see if it works for you. So I'm going to take the yarn end and I am going to put it between my ring finger and my pinky. So it's just going to have a few inches sticking out, and then I'm going to flip my hand over. Then I'll take the yarn end and I'll put it between my pinky and my ring finger again. So basically, again, I just made a loop by pinching the yarn together, flipping my hand over, and then putting it back through. This is so you can control the tension of the yarn by opening your fingers left or right. So quickly, this is what it looks like if I'm getting ready to crochet. For round 1, you're going to start off by chaining 47. To start this, you're going to have to make a slip knot. So the way to do that is to take about 4 to 5 inches and just pinch it. You're going to take your yarn and wrap it around your finger, and it's going to form a little loop like that. So once again, just cross it over, pull it off your finger, and it forms a slight loop like this. Then you're going to take your yarn tail that's actually connected to the ball of yarn, so the long one, not the short one, and you're just going to insert it through that loop. And you're going to pull up, and this is going to form a slip knot. So the next step is to take your crochet hook and insert it into the slip knot. And then using both ends of the yarn, you can pull it until it becomes tighter around your hook. For round 1, we're going to be chaining 47. So what you're going to do to make a chain is you're going to take your crochet hook, wrap it around the yarn, and you're going to use the little point in the hook to grab it. You're going to grab the yarn and you're going to pull through the slip knot. So that forms one chain. So again, you're going to wrap your yarn around and pull it through the loop. Wrap a yarn around and pull through the loop. So you can see here, 1, 2, 3, that forms 3 chains. So you're going to repeat this process for a total of 47 times to make 47 chains for the first round. And once you get a little bit faster, this is what it's going to look like. At this point, we have our 47 chains. And for round 2, we're going to skip the first stitch and we're going to do a half double crochet stitch in each one of these chains for a total of 46 half double crochets. So in order to do that, what you're going to do, as I said, you're going to skip this first chain and we're going to be working into the second chain. So for a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, grab the yarn and pull through, and as you can see, you're going to have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over again and pull through all 3, like that. So again, yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull back through, you're going to have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 at once. So one more time, just a little bit faster. Yarn over, insert, pull yarn through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and through all 3. So you're just going to repeat this process in every single stitch all the way down your chain. So you're going to have a total of 46 double crochets by the time that you're done with this row. And make sure that you have exactly 46. So what you can do is you can go back and at the end of your row, you can count these stitches. So let me use a little wooden skewer as my pointer. So as you can see here, we have our stitches and you can just count each and every individual stitch once you're done with the row, just to make sure you have 46 total. So now we have our 46 half double crochets finished. We're going to start off the next round by chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to turn our work. So turn your project over and we're going to be working into the back side. So for the first stitch, we're going to do a double crochet right into the stitch here. To do a double crochet, it's really similar to a half double crochet. There's just one extra step. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So you can see now we have 3 loops on our hook. You're going to yarn over again and pull through 2. We'll have 2 loops left on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 again. And now for this pattern, for the remainder of this row, we're going to skip 2, do a double crochet, chain 3, do another double crochet in the same stitch, and then we're going to repeat that all the way down the chain. So this is what it's going to look like. We've just completed the first repeat, so we're going to skip 2, so 1, 2, and we're going to be working into this stitch here. We're going to do a double crochet by yarning over, insert into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to chain 3, and we're going to do another double crochet into that exact same stitch. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So you can see by doing this repeat, it makes these little triangle shapes. So we're going to be doing this all the way down the row. So I'll do one more with you guys. You're going to skip 2. So 1, 2, we're going to be working into this stitch here. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, chain 3, and a double crochet right back into that exact same stitch. Just like that. So again, you can see it's forming these little triangle shapes here. So we're going to do that all the way down the entire chain, and you can pause the video here and I will meet you guys at the end of this row. Now that you're at the end of this row, you should have 15 of these chain 3 spots. So you can start from the beginning and make sure to just count out 15 to make sure that you have the correct amount of stitches in your project so far. Once you reach the end of the row, you can see here that you should have 3 stitches left over. You're going to yarn over and we're going to place 1 double crochet in this very last stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So you can see that will make a straight edge at the end of your project. So overall, this is what your work should look like so far. To start off the next row, we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to turn our work. For this row, I just want to point out where we're going to be working these stitches. We're going to be working into this chain space here, meaning we're going to insert our hook into this large circle that's here, that's created by the triangle shapes. So don't work into each one of these individual chains, work into the gap here, this chain gap. Same thing for when we do the stitches in between these triangle shapes, we're going to be working into this large hole here, not into the actual stitch. This is the very last row of the rows, so we're going to be forming the petals. To do this, we're going to be doing a repeat of stitches in every single one of these chain spaces. To do this repeat, we're going to start off with 3 double crochets into the chain space. And you can take your stitches and slide them to the edge so you have enough space to work. After doing our 3 double crochets, we're going to be doing 1 treble crochet. So this is very similar as a double crochet, just 1 extra step. You're going to yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2 again. So you can see that stitch is a little bit taller than the double crochet stitches because it has 1 extra step, and this is going to help make the curve in the petals. So after doing our 3 double crochets, our 1 treble crochet, we're going to do 3 more double crochets again into that exact same chain space that we're working into. Just like that. So now you can see it forms almost like this little scalloped edge, and this is 1 rose petal. So after completing that repeat of 3 double crochets, 1 treble crochet, and 3 double crochets, we're going to do a slip stitch into this space here. To do a slip stitch, you're going to insert your hook into that space, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then you're not going to yarn over, you're just going to pull through again. And then you're going to chain 1. So that forms our first petal. So I'll do one more with you guys. We're going to do 3 double crochets into the chain space, 1 triple crochet, and then 3 more double crochets, and then 1 slip stitch, and chain 1. And that forms a second rose petal. So you're going to continue doing this in all of the chain spaces down the entire row to form your rose petals, and you can pause the video here and I will meet you at the very end. This is what your row should look like at the end of row 4. So as you can see, we have each of these little scallops, which are each of our individual rose petals. So at this point, you should only have 1 chain space left at the very end of the row. And what we're going to do is just place 3 double crochets in this very last spot. And then we're going to leave about 12 inches of yarn, and we're going to cut off the yarn tail. Now that you've cut the end of the yarn, you're just going to yarn over and pull through all the way. And then you can pull the yarn tail and this will tighten the knot. So this is the finished row 4, and in the next clip I'm going to show you guys how we're going to assemble this and turn this into a rose. To assemble our rose, we're going to be taking our work so far and essentially rolling it into itself. So we're going to start with this side of the project, so not the one with the yarn tails attached. We're going to start with this side, and for this first petal, we're going to take this end here and essentially make it touch this part. So we're just going to fold it in half like this. And now for the rest of the rose, we're just going to continue rolling the rose into itself. And as you can see here, the rose shape is already forming. Now this is just a personal choice of mine, but I prefer to do the inside a little bit more tightly and the outer petals to be a little bit more loose, just like a real rose. So as I'm doing this, make sure you pinch the bottom so you can hold the whole project together as you're doing this. So now that it's all rolled up, this is what it's going to look like. And then I'm going to take the very last little half scallop we did here, and I'm going to line it up with this little notch here. So now that you have it all rolled up, you want to go ahead and adjust all of the petals to your liking, just to make sure you're liking the way that it's looking so far. And then you can flip it upside down for now. You're going to take your darning needle and you're going to thread the long yarn tail that we have left over into your needle. Now that we have this in place, we're ready to sew it together. So as you can see, this yarn tail is coming out from the top of the scallop, and we're going to insert our needle into the same notch here where we're going to connect it and pull through. Now we're just going to sew several stitches back and forth along this side to make sure that it's totally connected to the actual piece so that it will stay together. And this part is mostly going to be covered up, so don't worry if your stitches are not totally perfect. So now that we've got that side totally sewn up, we're going to place our rose flat down on your surface or your table that you're working on. And essentially we're going to be doing a lot of stitches crisscrossing through this center part to secure the rose together. So all you have to do is take your darning needle, basically impale it through the center of the rose, like so, and pull through. And you don't have to pull super tight, but do be secure when you're doing this. And now we're going to insert again, crisscrossing our stitches and pull through the other side. So continue forming little X shapes like this. So now that I've reached the very end of my yarn tail, I am going to insert it into my project and have it come out relatively closely to the other yarn tail. I'm going to take each of these yarn tails and simply tie them in a knot. And I'm going to do that 2 or 3 more times just to make sure it's perfectly secure. And now that we've got that done, snip off any of the excess yarn. And now our rose looks like this. Now that we've cut off our yarn tail, go back and flip your rose over and adjust any of the petals to your liking. I like to sort of pinch them at the edges to make sure that they all are not rolled in on each other and face outwards. And then I also like to tilt the rose to the side just so I can see the different layers, and I pull upwards just to get more height into the rose. Now we're going to be crocheting the calyx, or the underside, the green part of the rose. So what we're going to do first is start off with a magic ring. So in order to make a magic ring, you're going to take a tail of about 4 or 5 inches and pinch it between your thumb and your index finger. And then I take 2 fingers and I wrap the yarn around my finger like so. And then I'm going to take the yarn tail and pull it over the top and hold it in place with my other finger. So you can see I just formed an X shape with the yarn. So once again, pinch the yarn, wrap it around, and form an X shape. Now that you have this done, you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to insert it under this part of the X, and you're going to put it over this part. So once again, underneath the first part of the X and on top of the other part. And you're going to take the actual hook part and pull this through and twist. And then you're going to yarn over and do a chain. So again, one more time. Form the base of your magic ring, hook under and over, twist up, yarn over, and do a chain. So this is now forming our magic ring. So to start off the calyx, we're going to do 6 double crochet into this circle. And when you're doing this, make sure you work over the actual circle and also the yarn tail that's coming out of the side as well. Now that we've done our 6 double crochet, you're going to take this yarn tail that's coming out from the circle and you're going to pull it. And this is going to start to close up your circle. Once you've got it closed up most of the way, you're going to do a slip stitch into the beginning first double crochet. like so. And this is going to completely close up your circle. And don't pull the yarn tail too tight because you do want to be able to still have a little circle or a little gap in the middle here. Now that we have our 6 double crochets, we're going to start off the calyx by chaining 7. Now that we have our 7 chains, we're going to be working down the chain. So we're going to skip this first chain. We're going to be doing 1 slip stitch, 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 1 treble crochet in the very last chain space here. And then we're going to do a slip stitch to the next stitch on our magic ring. And that forms the first little leaf part of the calyx. Now that we have this first leaf, you're going to do this a total of 6 times to form 6 little leaf petals. So I'll do one more with you guys. We're going to chain 7. We're going to do a slip stitch, a single crochet, a half double crochet, 2 double crochets, and then 1 treble crochet in the very last chain, and then slip stitch to the next stitch on the magic ring, like so. So continue doing this all the way around, and you can pause the video here and I will meet you back at the end when you're finished. Now that you've repeated that 6 times, your calyx will look like this. So what you can do is leave about 4 inches of yarn at the end and cut off your yarn, and then you can fasten off by just pulling through, and then you can flip your calyx over and take the 2 yarn tails and tie it into a knot, and do this about 2 or 3 times. Now that everything is secured, you can take your scissors again and snip off the excess, and this is your finished calyx. The very last piece you're going to need for your rose is the leaf. In order to do the leaf, you're going to need about an 8-inch piece of 22 gauge floral wire. To start off the leaf, you're going to chain 12. For the leaf, you're going to be crocheting over the floral wire. This will make it so that your leaf is flexible. So we're going to be starting in the 3rd chain from the hook. So count down 1, 2, 3. Insert your hook, and you're going to be starting off with a single crochet. So once you've inserted your hook, I like to pick up the floral wire and hold it right next to the hook. Yarn over and complete a single crochet as usual. But you can see now that the single crochet was crocheted over the wire. Then you're just going to continue on with the pattern. So you're going to do a half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 2 treble crochets, 2 double crochets, 1 half double crochet, and in this very last chain space, you're going to place 3 single crochets. At this point, your leaf should look like this, and you should have used up all of the chains. We're going to take our work so far and slide it to the right-hand portion of the wire, and then we're going to fold our wire in half and pinch it at the top. Now we're going to be working back down the original chain. Be sure to work over your yarn tails so that you don't have to weave it in later. We're going to do the same pattern on the way back. So we're going to do a half double crochet, 2 double crochets, 2 treble crochets, another 2 double crochets, a half double crochet, a single crochet, and then in the very last space, we're going to do a slip stitch. This is what your leaf should look like so far. Now that we've crocheted over the yarn tail, we can flip our leaf over and you can cut off the excess yarn tail. The next part of the pattern is optional. It's going to add a textured border around the edge of the leaf. To do this, you're going to chain 1. You're going to do a slip stitch in every single one of the stitches around the whole leaf and do a chain 1 in between each of the slip stitches. So that's going to look like this. Slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, and like so. and you're going to repeat this around the entire edge of the leaf. You can pause the video here and I'll meet you on the other end. Take about 4 or 5 inches and snip off the yarn. Fasten off by pulling through. You're going to take this yarn tail and you're going to wrap it around the floral wire to cover it. Once you've wrapped the majority of the wire, what I like to do is take the yarn tail and put it between the 2 wires. Then I will twist the wire shut so that it will hold the yarn in place. Now that the yarn and the wire has been twisted shut, you can take your scissors and cut off the excess. This is what your finished leaf will look like. This is completely optional and I only recommend it for acrylic yarn, but one thing I like to do before I start assembling my rose is I like to burn off all of these yarn fuzzies. So if you look closely, you can see all of these little fuzzies at the edge, and it just doesn't really look that neat in my opinion. So what I'll do is I will take my lighter and I'll use the lighter for just a few seconds and wave it over the different parts of the leaf. You can see now that there's absolutely no yarn fuzzies. Here's a comparison versus the calyx and the leaf. So I do that with all 3 pieces and I just think it makes it look so much more cleaner and professional. Now for the very last step, I take my floral wire stems. The ones that I use are around 15 or 16 inches long, but I actually prefer to cut them down to about 11 or 12 inches. Now that you have your floral wire stem cut down to your desired length or your wooden skewer, you'll take the floral wire stem and insert it into the center of the rose. This is to make sure that you like the placement and also so that you can't see the green stem sticking up in the middle of the rose. Once you're satisfied and you've created a little tiny hole in the middle of the rose, you're going to take your hot glue gun and put a bit of hot glue at the very end of your stem. Then you're going to take your floral wire stem with the hot glue on it and insert it into the center of the rose. Next, you're going to take your calyx with the correct side of your work facing you, meaning that the proper and the front side of the stitches are facing you, whereas this is the back, and you can tell the difference because these look a little bit more wavy, whereas this side looks a bit neater. And you're going to insert the floral wire stem into the center of the calyx. And then what I prefer to do is hold the calyx on my hand like this, almost like a microphone or like an ice cream cone. And then I will put hot glue in the center and down each one of these little leaves. Once all of the leaves have hot glue on them, I will flip the rose upside down and I will place a bit of hot glue at the very base. And then I will make sure that the calyx leaves are in the little notches here. So this leaf should be attached right here. And once I get it in position, I will push it down onto the hot glue and I will push each one of these leaves down. And then you can flatten it and secure everything in place. And then at this point, your rose should look like this. Next, I will take the hot glue gun and I will put a little dot of hot glue at the very base of the stem. And I will attach my green yarn. I will push it down and wiggle it around a little bit just so it's secure. I'll hold the floral wire stem and I will start to twist. And this will wrap the yarn around the floral wire. Once you've wrapped it for about 2.5 or 3 inches, you're going to take your leaf and hold it next to your floral wire stem. Then you're going to continue wrapping the yarn around both the leaf and the floral stem. And then just continue to wrap the yarn all the way around the entire stem. Once you reach the very end of the stem, you're going to take a little bit of hot glue and place it at the very bottom, and then just finish off wrapping the stem. Using your scissors, cut any excess yarn, and then to secure the bottom, I will take the hot glue gun and just wrap it and twirl it around the very bottom. And then you can adjust your leaf to your liking, and your rose is all finished. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I hope that my rose tutorial was helpful. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like if you liked this video and if you found it helpful. It would really mean a lot to me. I'm a full-time law school student and crochet is just my creative outlet, so any support really means so much to me. Bye!